I want to warn and caution you new drivers or drivers who don't really know too much about the goings on with this industry not to join these lease purchase programs out of Chicago. These Russian owned and Eastern European owned companies. Why? Allow me to elaborate. One thing that they do, okay, as a driver, if you're an owner operator, you know that in order for you to get a load, you book loads through freight brokers unless you're contracted with a shipper directly. Then you don't have to go through the middleman, which is the freight broker. I used to be a freight broker, so this information I know, right? So when you work for these companies, they will contact a freight broker to book a load. Now, I'm just going to spit out a random number. Let's just say the freight broker is given a load for $3,200. The company that you work for, the lease purchase company, will take $700 out of that load and give you the $2,500 and say, this is what the broker gave to us. That's called double brokering, right? So this is what they do. Now they make you pay, they only take a percentage of what it is the load is paying. So the load originally paid $3,200, but they give it to you for $2,500. You'll never know that because they'll doctor the bill of lading and make it appear as if the load was given to them from the broker for $2,500. So now they're taking 20% of the $2,500 that they gave you on top of the $700 that they took that you were supposed to get, right? Now, secondly, when you get your statement, your check at the end of the week, what they do is they charge you a bunch of miscellaneous charges that vary from check to check. You might see this charge in this check, but the next check you might not, or you might see something different. And these are things that weren't in your contract when you initially signed on with them. This is how they get you, right? A lot of drivers, it's a driver right now, I'm not going to film him. This is why I thought to make this video. He's emptying out his car right now. Emptying out his truck into his car right now, and is about to abandon the truck. I told him not to. Asked him not to because that's not a good thing for a driver to do, but he's upset, right? He worked for a company for 6 weeks, only made about $2,300 in the 6 weeks that he worked. Now, drivers, some of us have checks that are $2,300 or more a week that work for companies, right? So that's crazy. On average, a lot of drivers don't. You might make 15, 16, depending on what company you work for. Now, he used to work for a company. Now, the company wasn't a good company. I don't even know the name. Like, he said the name, and I didn't even, never seen it. And I pay attention to what I'm doing. So, he went to the lease purchase thinking he was going to make money, right? But the thing is, the only way that you can make money with them is if you drive illegally. And that's another thing that they expect you to do. Now, what do I mean about driving illegally? We have this thing called an ELD, which is an electronic logging device, which is a clock. Once we go on duty or we start driving, the clock starts. We have 14 hours altogether. 3 of those are for sitting, 11 of those are for driving. No more, no less. Except for weather conditions in certain situations, and that's, whatever. So what they do is you can drive out your whole 11-hour clock. You call them and they'll doctor up your ELD and make it appear as if you've never driven. So that will give you an additional 14-hour clock. Now, you have some drivers that don't mind driving 17, 18 hours a day. Do I think it's sustainable? Absolutely not. And when I say that, I'm not saying that from speculation. I'm saying that from experience, right? So now, here it is. I'll give you an example. In a week span, I drove from North Dakota to South Carolina to California. In a week, I drove from North Dakota to South Carolina, then from South Carolina to California. Now, was that check heavy? It was very heavy, but just think about the amount of sleep that I got for that week. Now, I'm not even going to tell you about how the next week started, but that was just an example of a week and how they want you to run like a sled dog. And that's the only way you're going to make money now. Like I said, that's not sustainable. And the guy who I was talking to, he doesn't want to run that way. So he thought that just by doing 2,500, 3,000 miles a week, that he was going to see a decent check. It just turns out that he ended up in a negative a few times. And like, it's just a scam, man. Like, these companies, and then what they make you do is they take money out of every check that you make and put it towards a maintenance escrow that you're supposedly going to receive when you leave the job, because the money's yours, right? Sometimes drivers have up to $2,500, $5,000 in their maintenance escrow that they never receive, and they took this money out of their check. For every mile you drive, they take a certain percentage, whether it be 10 cent, 20 cent, 25 cent, whatever, I don't know. But the money is yours. You made the money because it's going towards your maintenance escrow, which basically pays for like tires and like minor maintenance issues you may have with the truck. These companies are scams. They're scams. Every lease purchase company is not created equal. You have some that are fair, you have some that are decent, you have some that are great. A lot of you won't know that because drivers gatekeep. They don't want to let people know, because I have an experience with that as well. I put a driver onto the job that I was working for. Good job, great job, paid very well. And of course, I got a referral bonus, about $1,500. But I plugged the driver up with the job, and she got fired after delivering the first load. Of course, I can't say that it reflected badly on me, because my work ethic proves that I am not that. But you'll be hard pressed for a driver to tell you about a great company they work for, because drivers do a lot of gatekeeping. Now, do I think that's right? I understand. But I would just caution you. This is definitely a cautionary tale. Do not join these lease purchase programs out of Chicago. Some of them are moving to other places, Florida, to try to separate themselves from the pack. But they're all the same. If you get on the phone with them and they're speaking and they sound like they're Russian, hang up. I'm telling you, just hang up. Don't put yourself through it. Other than that, y'all stay safe out here, man. Make your money. Get home to your families. Y'all carry on.